So today we are going to start the chapter, We Are Not Afraid to Die If We All Can Be Together. So children, this chapter is basically about the importance of determination, willpower. So when we have strong willpower, when we are determined to do some particular task, then nothing in this world can stop us from accomplishing it or to get our dreams realized. So first, it's about the importance or the value of willpower. Willpower makes us do something impossible. So willpower helps us overcome all hurdles, including the hurdle which might be uh, which might be as fatal as death itself, But when we would be like a strongly willed, then we would be able to overcome all obstacles of life. Second, it's about the family bond. So when we are all together, when as a family we all stand together, when we support each other in the times of crisis, then we can overcome any sort of problem. It can be any disaster which can be overcome with our family bonding, with good family support, right? And third, children, it's about like the importance of taking the right decision at the right time. So it's about being far-sighted. It's about like not being overconfident. So sometimes we feel like we are very well prepared, we know something very well. Sometimes we know it's okay to have confidence in our own abilities. It's good to be sure about one's preparation, but at the same time one should also know, like maybe there would be some time when we might need the help of somebody. So so instead of remaining overconfident, we must always have the farsightedness to tell us that we might need somebody's help, or we might need something or somebody at some point of time in life. And for that, we must be prepared to seek that help at the right time. So it's about the timely decision. And fourth thing, children, it's about the importance of pre-preparation. So it's not like when the crisis, when the problem comes up, only then we have to get up and start evacuation program, or only then we must start off like how to escape from problem. The main thing is like before the crisis come up, before that we must be 100% prepared to face it, right? For example, right now, if we try to relate this very concept with the present day situation in India, what's happening? Like for the last 1 year, we have been, going through this COVID. We have been going through this pandemic. It's not something new. Last year, the COVID, the pandemic came in the month of somewhere in the month of Feb. Then in March, there was complete lockdown. And for about 6 or 7 months, the lockdown remained as it is. But when we were able to overcome that problem by the month of October or November, when the things seemed to be at ease, when we thought like the things are turning out to be in our favor, then what we people started doing, we people started taking the things very lightly. We thought like it's nothing like that, like the COVID or the corona doesn't exist. So we became very careless. So as a like it was okay with the authorities to let the lockdown be over. The markets started opening up. All the every place we were able to go to, all come. I mean, like the lockdown was over, but lockdown was over, but COVID was not over, corona was not over, pandemic was not over. But what we people started doing is like we started taking the things very lightly. Many of the people started even commenting like corona doesn't exist, it's not there, right? And on one hand, we as common people are responsible for what is happening today. Okay, 80% it is we people who are responsible for all these things. But yes, to some extent, even the authorities, because they never ever bothered to make pre-preparations to handle this kind of disaster situation which is now there. Last year also it was like very very evident, like oxygen and all would be required. So there was no preparation on the part of the authorities. There was no preparation on the part of the common people to safeguard themselves. And the authorities did not go in for that kind of planning, which was required to, survive this kind of pandemic. So it's not only the common people, but the authorities also who are responsible for not being so well prepared. So it's not that we must ring the bell only when the crisis come up. The preparations should be complete even before the problems are there, right? So it is always after the problem which comes up that we people wake up, and we people start realizing, like, yes. So it's for the last 30 to 40 years when environmentalists all had been, giving warning, like one day oxygen will have to be purchased. So they were all warning the humanity to go for more and more afforestation. But despite all those warnings, we, the human beings, kept on going for deforestation. So the uh, trees were being cut down, more and more colonies were set up, more and more, roads were made. So we people went in for infrastructure, and in the name of development, what started happening? We started heading towards destruction, and now that destruction is happening. Now we people are being victimized. Now we people have become the victim of that very destruction which we ourselves went in for. So point is, like, let that time not come when we'll have to think about how to escape. Beforehand, the preparations, beforehand, the safe measures must be adopted. So this chapter, We Are Not Afraid to Die, is all about that. It's just not about, like, when we go into the sea, only then we'll have to see how to safeguard ourselves. Like, we are always in the sea of troubles. So always there is a sea of trouble all around us, but it's all up to us, like how we plan to safeguard ourselves, how what kind of preparations we always have. Okay, now we are running for oxygen here and there, but the thing is, like, we people could have been, very very well prepared to face this kind of difficult situation by being inside, by being taking all the protocols which are being, which are being aired, like what are the safety measures which we must all follow. So for the first 6 months, the things went on fine. But when the lockdown was over, when we people started moving out, we people forgot everything. And now the things are now worse than ever. So we are responsible. No, nobody else. We are responsible. First, God gave us a time to, you know, protect. God gave us the problem, but He also made us, kept us safe. But later on, we realized that it was nothing. So now the results are in front of us. Okay. So instead of, blaming somebody or the other, like, we all must take the blame on our shoulders that we people are responsible for this. And the solution lies in, like, be well prepared. We must be able to foresee, like, what might happen. So before that happen, we must be well prepared, not to face the problem, but we must be prepared enough so that disaster doesn't happen, right? So here, we are not afraid to die means that, number one, we let us be prepared for the worst, but at the same time, let's hope for the best. Now there are many people, the the scientists and all, they are predicting a third wave. They are predicting a third wave, keeping in mind, like, what's happening today. So what is happening today? What we did in the previous 6 months, in the last 6 months. So if the third wave is being predicted, doesn't mean that the third wave will come. It will come, yes, if we will not change our ways, if we will not change our lifestyle. If we won't change our lifestyle, then third wave would come. So if we will change our lifestyle, then third wave will definitely not come. Okay. So what lifestyle is to be changed? We must follow all the protocols. Okay. Social distancing, and then at the same time, masking up when we go out. And then third, very important thing, like remaining, taking care of our health. Okay. At the same time, taking care of the environment. That is the most important thing, which is the need of the hour, right? So We Are Not Afraid to Die is basically about being prepared for the worst, but at the same time, hoping for the best. Let's hope for the best by being taking care of the future also. So if we can all be together, so we are all to be together. It's not about only Punjab. It's not about only Mumbai. It's not only about Tamil Nadu. It's not only about Delhi. It's about all of us that we are to fight this pandemic together. Let's not fight over those trivial issues which are not a part of this kind of strategy. So this chapter is basically here. The chapter is about the people who are the seafarers. So these are the people, those who take a voyage in the sea, and how they survive those hurdles in the sea. But if we relate it with our life, that sea is the sea with which we are all surrounded by, the sea of hurdles, the sea of problems. And the solution lies in we being together. Okay, so here we are to take care, like what corrective measures, what preventive measures we can adopt so that we don't die, so that we don't have to be the victims of that disaster which is there in the air now. So, okay, so how we have to be. So it's not about being selfish. It's not that only I have to take care of myself. So when I'll be taking care of myself, then only I'll be able to take care of my family. Then only I'll be able to take care of my community. Then only I'll be able to take care of my country. So first we have to be very particular about our own safety. Then we can think about the safety of others. So it's not a selfish perspective. It's about a global perspective, right? So it starts from within us. It starts from us. So we are not afraid to die if we all can be together is about hoping for the best, but being prepared for the worst. So when you are prepared for the worst, it means that you are ready to face the consequences, but you are prepared. You have all those things with which you'll be able to fight the pandemic or any problem, right? And secondly, it's about taking the right decision at the right time, whether we need it, which I might need tomorrow, or whether I don't need it so that somebody else might use it. If somebody says that oxygen is not available, doesn't mean that we go to market and purchase one cylinder just because I might need it. Let it be for somebody who needs it right now. Okay, let's not go for hoarding. Okay, but at the same time, it's about taking the corrective measures right now. Instead of going in for an oxygen cylinder, we can go into plant one tree somewhere around us, right? So I mean, like, it's about taking the right or the corrective measures. Then it's about staying together, maybe as a family, maybe as neighbors, maybe as citizens. So then finally, it's about being well prepared. It's about being positive. It's about being positive means not to be afraid of. Come what must, we are not to be afraid of. We are not to become depressed. We are not to become stressed up. We must think about the things with which we can survive the pandemic. Okay, it's not only for ourselves, it's for everybody. So let's see how we can relate our present with we are not afraid to die if we can all be together, right? So here, before we proceed with the chapter, I would like to show you one video come audio. It's a very, very beautiful video come audio, in which the whole chapter has been described very well. So listen to it very carefully, right? Are you all ready? Okay. Devanshi is ready. Himanshu is ready. Okay.
Die. If We Can All Be Together. By Gordon Cook and Alan East. And We're Not Afraid to Die. If We Can All Be Together. By Gordon Cook and Alan East. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6, daughter Suzanne, 7, and I set sail from Plymouth, England, to copy the round-the-world voyage, which was made 200 years before by Captain James Cook, Voyage, a long journey involving travel by sea. I was a 37 years old businessman. For the past 16 years, I and Mary had spent all the leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. Honing seafaring skills means sharpening the sea-traveling skills. Our boat's name was Wavewalker. A 23-meter, 30-ton wooden boat had been professionally built. We had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. The first leg of our 3-year, 105,000-kilometer journey passed pleasantly. In this, we sailed from the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. Before heading east, we took on 2 crewmates, Larry and Siegel. Larry was an American, while Siegler was a Swiss. We took on those crewmates to tackle one of the roughest seas, the South Indian Ocean. On the second day at Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales.
Gales, strong winds.
For the next few weeks, they continued. But gales don't worry me. But the size of waves was alarming. Almost 15 meters, as high as our main mast. Mast means a large pole of ship. On the 25th of December, we were 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite bad weather, we had a wonderful holiday with a Christmas tree. On the New Year, there was no improvement in weather. We thought that it will change soon. It changed, but worse than before. At dawn on the 2nd of January, the waves were gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jib. Storm jib is a triangular sail, which is set forward the mast and is helpful for ships in bad weather. As the ship rose up on the top of each wave, we could see endless waves rolling towards us, and the screaming of wind and spray was painful to ears. To slow the boat, we dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy rope across the stern. Then, we double-lashed everything. Lashed tied with a rope, stern back part of ship. We checked our life raft drills, attached lifelines, put oilskins in life jackets, and waited.
Remember, to save themselves from waves on the 2nd of January, they tried to slow the boat by removing the storm jib and lashing a rope at stern. Then, they lashed everything, checked life raft drill, put oilskins and life jackets, and waited.
The first indication of disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence.
Ominous silence means silence that indicates some bad is going to happen.
The wind dropped, and the sky grew dark. Then came a roar, and a cloud. But then, I realized that it was not a cloud. It was a wave. It appeared vertical, and twice the height of other waves. When ship moved up to face the wave, I thought we would ride over it. But then, a tremendous explosion shook the deck. Deck is the floor of boat. A flood of green and white water broke over the ship. My head smashed into the steering wheel. I was sinking below the waves. Now, I was not in my boat. I accepted my approaching death. As I was losing consciousness, I was peaceful. But then, my head came out of water. I also had lifeline.
Lifeline is a rope used when someone is sinking in water.
Wavewalker was turning upside down. The masts were almost horizontal. But then, a wave made her upright. I grabbed the guardrails of our boat and waved into Wavewalker. The continuous waves tossed me on the deck like a rag doll. My left ribs cracked, and my mouth was filled with blood and broken teeth. You can imagine what I was feeling that time. Somehow, I found the wheel, crossed the wave, and hung on. There was water everywhere. I knew that there was water in starboard and other cabins, but I couldn't leave the wheel to go there. Suddenly, the front hatch opened, and my wife Mary appeared.
We're sinking. The decks are smashed. Water is filling the boat.
The deck floor was smashed, and water was filling up. Take the wheel.
He ran to the hatch.
Larry and Herb, the 2 crewmates, were pumping out water through hand pumps, like madmen. I half swam and half crawled into the children's cabin. John and Sue, are you all right? Yes.
But my head hurts a bit.
Sue had a big bump above her eyes, but I had no time to worry about bumped heads. After finding some screws, canvas, and a hammer. I ran back to the deck.
Starboard. Right side of a boat.
The starboard was smashed open, and we were getting water with each wave. If I could not make some repairs, we would surely sink. I managed to stretch the canvas and secure waterproof covers across the holes. Some water continued to enter, but most of it was deflected. After some time, our hand pumps began to block because of the debris that came with water and waves.
Debris is the residue of unclean water, including rocks, garbage, etc.
The electric pump was short-circuited. The water level rose threateningly. Then I remembered. We had another electric pump under the chart room floor. I connected it and out pipe and was thankful that it worked. The night was a...
Children, is the voice audible? Is the clipping audible, children? Is the clipping audible? Okay. Kavya, check your connection better, because the others are saying yes. So what we have, what this clipping has been able to tell us so far, it's about like the narrator. He went in for a sea fair. He went in for a sea voyage. He wanted to duplicate the round the world journey. So he went over there with his family, his two children, Sue, Joe, and his own wife, Mary. So went over there. Somewhere before Cape Town, they got two crewmen along with them, because they knew that somewhere later on they might need those two crewmen. So before that, he also tells us that for the last 16 years, they had been making preparations to go for a sea voyage. It's not that they got up and went in for a sea voyage. They made preparations. They learned all the seafaring skills, and they made preparations in length about the sea voyage. So finally, they went off. The first leg of the journey went off very well, but later on, they started facing the troubles. So the sea waves, the huge sea waves. So after the very second day, when their sea got capsized, then this man, this narrator, he almost sank in water. He almost, drowned in water, but because of the rope which was tied to him, he came out. And finally, when when the ship was upright, then afterwards, what was the condition of the ship? That is what they are describing right now. So the ship was almost, damaged. Okay, the deck of the ship was almost, burst, and the water kept coming inside. So, and the children, Sue and Joe, they were already, hurt. Sue, her eye was badly swollen because it was very terribly hurt. So he tells us narrator had no time to look after his children. He had no time to look after the bumped heads, because sometimes even when there is some big difficulty, then you have to then you don't have any other option except to ignore that difficulty, because you have to attend the another disastrous thing, which if you don't attend to it, you might not be able to survive. So at that time, though his daughter was very terribly injured, but he had no time to look after her, or to bother for her bumped head, because at the time it was more important for him to take his ship to the safe side, because the ship had already got very badly damaged. And if he would not try to take the ship out of that dangerous situation, they would not be able to survive. So right now, they are telling us like how they were trying to overcome that disaster. What was the ultimate disaster? The ultimate disaster was that the ship might get capsized, that it might sink. So they are doing their best to let that not happen. And all these things are happening despite the preparations which they had made for 16 years. Okay. And now, despite all those preparations, they are facing difficulties, but doesn't mean that they are giving up. They are still going on and on with the struggle. So the struggle which they undergo, that is something which we must, focus upon. See how much, up to what extent they are undergoing that struggle to survive. Right? It is the same thing we people are doing nowadays in this pandemic. So our right now, the purpose should be not only to survive, but also to come out of this pandemic successfully and nicely. Okay, without losing anyone, without letting any unpleasantness happen anywhere around in our country also, we must come out of it successfully. So this the same thing here this narrator is doing. So see the hardship, see the struggles these people are undergoing, and see how in the end they would be able to come out of it successfully.
A cold routine of pumping, steering, and working the radio. They were getting no replies of Mayday calls. What are Mayday calls? Maydays is a distress signal that is used when there is a danger to life. It's usually used in ships and airplanes. It's just like SOS, which is an emergency signal in telephone. Actually, Maydays is taken from a French word, "m'aides," which means, help me. They were no getting answers to their Mayday calls, which is not surprising in this remote corner of the world. Sue's head was now swollen alarmingly, she had 2 large black eyes, and now, she had a cut on her arm. Why didn't you tell me before?
I didn't want to worry you when you were trying to save us all.
By morning, on the 3rd of January, the water level was sufficiently under control so that we could rest for 2 hours, in rotation. But, we still had a leak somewhere. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit. But, Wavewalker couldn't hold us long enough to reach Australia. I checked charts and calculated that there were 2 small islands, a few hundred kilometers to the east. One of them, XI-XII, was a French scientific base. Our hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean.
Amsterdam is like a pinprick in the vast ocean.
But unless the winds and waves slow down, our chances would be slim. Because waves of yesterday had put our engine out of work. We could just hoist sail, which was possible if wind was not against us. On the 4th of January, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, we reached the last few centimeters of water left in our boat. We had to keep pace, with the water still coming on. We couldn't set sail on the main mast, because pressure made what pulled the damaged section of our boat apart. So, instead of main mast, we hoisted the storm jib and headed for the direction where I thought the 2 islands were. Mary found some corned beef and biscuits, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. But our happy break didn't last long. At 4 p.m., black clouds began forming behind us. The wind reached 40 knots, and the seas were getting higher.
Knots is a unit of wind speed.
The weather went bad throughout the night, and by the dawn, on the 5th of January, our situation was desperate. I went in the children's cabin to comfort them. Daddy, are we going to die? No, son. We can make it.
Well, children, the time is almost over, I guess. Yeah, time is almost over. So I might send you the link of this video. You see it on your own. Would that be fine? Would that be fine? I'll send you the link. You watch it on your own. It's a video for about 18 minutes and you've already watched it up till 9 minutes. So 10 minutes more are there. You watch it on your own. And on Monday, we will discuss its theme. Okay, you don't have to do anything. You just listen to this video again and again. And your 80% of the chapter is covered up in this video. 80% I'm saying. But still we would be reading its text. But on Monday, before we start the text, we'll be discussing various parts of this chapter. We are not afraid to die. So far, we are all together. So we'll be discussing its theme and some other parts. And moreover, the best thing is like, how do you think this chapter is comparable to our present life? Okay. Will you do that? Will you do that? Okay. Okay, children. Okay, so we'll see you on not Monday, sorry. We'll have a class on now Thursday. So we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you. Okay. Take care, children.